Hello students, welcome to KENE'S Educare, a group of KENE solutions. This is part 5 of lesson number 2, is matter around us pure? So now as we are on to part 5, we have already discussed so many things about matter. We discussed on what are solutions, what are the different types of solutions, right? Then we discussed on like what are suspensions, what are the properties of suspensions. We discussed about colloidal solutions, and there are so many things that we have discussed so far in the lesson, right? And today we are going to start with different techniques, okay, for separation. So there are different techniques, like 5 to 6 different techniques that we are going to discuss now. And for discussing that, you should be clear with all the previous concepts that we have studied so far, right? So before I start with it, I just want each one of you to please go through whatever notes you have taken in your book till part 4. Okay. I hope everyone is revising whatever you all have taken a note of in the last session. So now I'm going to show you the slides one by one, and I want each one of you to please go through each and every slide properly. So we have started this lesson by discussing about classification of matter, right? So I just want you all to please go through this one. I hope everyone like is going through this slide. So here we have the information about the particles and what exactly pure substances are, right? So I just want each one of you to please be clear with the concept of, you can say, pure things. Like if you see pure ghee, pure milk, or anything pure in the market, okay, you have to make sure like you are aware of pure. It doesn't mean that it's pure, it means it is made up of, or it consists of only a single type of particle. Got it? After this, we discussed on what exactly a mixture is. So I just want you all to please go through this slide as well. After this, what is mixture, we discussed on the types of mixtures, right? And we had like two different activities over here. That is like a group activity, right? So I just want you all to please go through it once. Then we discussed on the second activity as well. So I just want each one of you to please go through it. After this, we discussed on like what exactly is the solution, right? So I just want you all to please go through it. Now these are some of the examples, right? So I just want you all to please go through this example as well once. See, the examples of solutions are very important because like they can ask you about this, right? So make sure you are going through the examples and you know the examples. Okay. After this, we studied on the properties of solution. So I just want you all to please go through it once as well. I hope everyone is going through the properties of solution. After those properties of solutions, we discussed on the concentration of solution, right? So I just want each one of you to please go through it once. Okay, so here we have like three different types of solutions which have been given: diluted solution, concentrated solution, and saturated solution. And we have studied the definition of all of them, right, in detail. So we studied this through an activity. So I just want you all to please go through this activity once. You should be able to explain the activities in your own words. It should be like that now. Okay. After this, like this is where like we have the three different methods for calculating the concentration of the solution, right? And even we have like what exactly saturated solution is, what exactly unsaturated solution is, everything in detail, right? So I just want each one of you to please go through it once. See, you should be knowing the formulas that have been given over here for calculating the concentration of solution. Okay, because many a times what happens, students miss out all these important things, and then like it becomes very difficult to cope up with it. Okay, so please go through it once, everyone. After this, like we discussed on this example, and if you remember, I have changed the value and I have told you about it, like how exactly you have to calculate it, and I hope you have even calculated it from your end, right? After this, we discussed on what is a suspension, and the properties of suspensions have been given over here, right? So as I said, today we will be discussing on different techniques. So like you will be knowing what exactly is like happening over here, about what is exactly filtration is. Now you might have studied filtration in your earlier lessons as well, right? And even I guess there was one diagram that we have discussed as well, how to make a filter paper, and then you have to like just keep on like passing the solution that you have through that filter paper, right? Sorry. Now this question is very important, that write a note on properties of suspension. So make sure you're knowing it, and even when they are like you have been asked, because there's a figure which has been given, you can just represent it so that it makes your paper look more presentable and interesting as well. Okay. After this, like we discussed on Tyndall effect, and where can we observe this Tyndall effect? When sunlight passes through the canopy of a dense forest. In that case, the Tyndall effect can be seen, where you will see that in the forest, the mist is going to have some tiny droplets of water, and that tiny droplet of water is going to act as particles of colloidal dispersed in air, right? So like when you write the difference between solution suspension and colloidal solution, Tyndall effect is going to be like one of the point which is going to come over, which you can add as well. Okay, so I'll explain you the differentiation between all the three as well once we complete with it. Okay. Then after this Tyndall effect, we discussed on the properties of a colloid. So I just want each one of you to please go through it. So here we studied on different examples of colloidal solutions, right? Where we have like the dispersed phase as solid, liquid and gas, and we had like dispersing medium again, which includes solid, liquid, gas. The type can be aerosol. If it's a gas, it is going to be mostly aerosol. Okay. Liquid will be like emulsion, solution or foam, and solids can also be liquid, you can say foam, solution or a gel. After this, like now we will be discussing on separating the component of a mixture, right? And we have already studied this slide, so I want you all to please go through it once. Okay, so the methods to separate component of mixture, it includes evaporation, centrifugation, separating funnel, sublimation, chromatography, distillation. So there are like all 6 different names which have been given, which can be used to like separate the component of a mixture. Okay, so now we are going to study each and every method with an activity. Okay, wait. See, what you have to do over here is fill half a beaker with water. Okay. After filling half a beaker with water, put a watch glass on the mouth of the beaker. What will you do? You have to put watch glass on the mouth of the beaker, like as you can see in the figure given, right? Put few drops of ink on the watch glass. Now wait, I'll just show you. First of all, what you did, you took some water in the beaker. Then you have to put a watch glass like this. In that watch glass, you have to add ink in it. What will you add? Ink. Okay. Now start heating the beaker. And we do not want to heat the ink directly, because you will see that evaporation is taking place from the watch glass. Now you why we have placed water below it and then on watch glass we have added the ink, because if you we don't want to like hit the ink directly, and that is the reason we have kept the uh, beaker full of water first. Okay, so continue heating as the evaporation goes on, and stop heating when you do not see any further changes on the watch glass. So you have to heat it till the time you see like evaporation is taking place, and once you see that there is no change which is taking place on the watch glass, you can stop heating the ink. Okay, and observe carefully and record your observation. And when you do this, you will find that ink is a mixture of dye in water. What it is? Ink is a mixture of dye in water, and thus we can separate the volatile component, that is solvent, from its non-volatile solute by the method of evaporation. How can we separate it? By the method of evaporation. And what are we doing in this method of evaporation? We are separating the volatile component from its non-volatile component. That is, we are separating the solute, like solvent, from the solute. Okay, so this is what evaporation is. Now how can you explain this? The different substance, they are going to have different boiling point, and we use this property to separate the component of the mixture. Why do we use this property? To separate the component of mixture. And that is why, because here the boiling point of ink, the boiling point of ink is higher than that of water, right? So when are we, like whenever we are going to heat the ink solution, water evaporates while the ink dye will remain the same. You will see that the water will get evaporated completely, whereas the ink dye will remain the same. Okay, so I want you all to write this thing in your book, like we can separate the volatile component, that is solvent, from its non-volatile component by the method of evaporation. Okay, and even like you can draw the figure of evaporation that has been explained over you, so make sure you are doing it. Every process you should be clear with the explanation. I hope everyone is like drawing the figure and even writing the point. After this, like, I hope now you're clear till here. Now see, how can we separate cream from milk? Have you ever tried doing it? Don't tell me like you just take the spoon and you remove it. Okay. So see, nowadays we get full cream, toned and double toned varieties of milk packed in poly packs or tetra packs in the market. Okay, where do we get it? They are like, whenever you go to DMart or anywhere like in the shopping mall, just check what are the different types of milk which you get there. Okay, you will see that you'll get full cream, toned and double toned varieties of milk which will be packed, okay, in like in poly packs or tetra packs. So you'll find out that, and this varieties of milk, they contain different amount of fat. Now you might have heard like the person who doesn't want to consume fat, okay, but want to have milk, they take this toned milk because toned milk has less amount of fat in it. So all the different, full cream will have more amount of fat, toned will have like less amount of fat, double toned will have like no amount of fat in it. So this is how we get different varieties of milk containing different amount of fat in it. Got it? So now see, the question was like, how can we separate the fat from the milk, right? The cream from the milk, right? So see, take some full cream milk in a test tube. So you have to like bring such a milk which is like, which has full cream in it, centrifuge it by using a centrifuging machine for 2 minutes. And if a centrifuging machine is not available in the school, you can do this activity at home by using a milk churner which are used in the kitchen. Now centrifugation may what happens there, it's just that you will see that the machine will make it rotate at a very high speed, okay, like we make that Delgano. Same way you have to churn it using a milk churner. Okay. And if you have a milk dairy nearby, visit it and ask how they separate the cream from milk and how they make cheese from milk. Either cheese, like not everyone might be making the cheese, right? But they make paneer. Every one of them make paneer. So you have to ask them how do they make paneer and how they separate the cream from milk. Okay. So sometimes the solid particles in liquid are very small and they pass through a filter paper, right? The solid particles are going to be very tiny and minute. So what happens? They can easily pass through the filter paper even if you are like carrying out the filtration process. So for such particles, we cannot use filtration technique because we don't want any solid particle in it, right? So we can separate such mixtures by a process called as centrifugation. Okay, and the principle of the centrifugation technique is that denser particles are forced to bottom and the lighter particles stay at the top when spun rapidly, because as I said that it rotates the mixture very fast, because of which what will happen, whichever like particles are going to be denser, they will remain at the bottom, and the particles who are lighter, they are going to like stay at the top. This is how it exactly works. Okay, so this is the principle of centrifugation that they have given. So now I hope you got the answer. How can we separate the cream from milk? So we can do that easily through centrifugation machine. How can we do that? Through centrifugation machine. Okay. After this, now see, how can we separate a mixture of two miscible liquids? What do you think? How can we separate it? So we are going to study that. Two immiscible liquids means the liquids are not getting mixed together. Okay. So see, for that we are going to try an activity. Let us try to separate kerosene oil from water using a separating funnel. What are we going to do? We are going to separate kerosene oil from water using a separating funnel. Now kerosene oil and water, we know they are immiscible, right? We cannot, you can say, we cannot separate them. So what are we going to do now? We are going to pour the mixture of kerosene oil and water in a separating funnel. What we will do? We have to pour the separate, like mixture of kerosene oil and water in a separating funnel. Like as you can see the separating funnel, this is how the separating funnel looks like. Okay, then let it stand undisturbed for some time so that separate layers of oil and water are formed. Okay, what we will do, we have to let it stand undisturbed. You have to keep it like layer of water and kerosene mixed formation of kerosene oil and water in a separating funnel, and you have to keep it aside. You don't have to disturb it. Okay, so that the separate layer of oil and water are formed. After that, open the stopcock of the separating funnel and pour out the lower layer of the water carefully. What are we doing here? We are just opening the stopcock and we are allowing the lower layer of the water to move out. Okay. Now after that, close the stopcock of the separating funnel as the oil reaches the stopcock. So you have to be very much, you can say, active over here. Okay. And you have to see, like we will be stopping the close, we will close the stopcock as soon as the oil is going to reach the stopcock. This should be very quick. Okay. After this, this is how you will be able to separate the two immiscible liquids, that is kerosene oil and water, just by using a separating funnel. Got my point, everyone? So now we have the application which has been given over here. See, what you have to do is to separate, like why do we use the separating funnel? Whenever we have to separate the mixture of oil and water, in that case separating funnels can be used. Okay. Then if you have to extract the iron from its ore, okay, in that case also separating funnel is used. Then the lighter slag will be removed from the top by this method to leave the molten iron at the bottom in the furnace. Okay, so this principle, the principle is that immiscible liquids separate out in layers depending on their densities. Okay, what is the principle over here? That immiscible liquids, they separate out in layer depending on their densities. Got it, everyone? So I want you all to write both the application which has been given over here. Okay, so here we have like, if the question comes as like how can you separate a mixture of two immiscible liquid, we can do that by separating funnel. Okay, how can we separate the cream from the milk? We can do that by centrifugation technique. Then how can we obtain the colored component present in the ink? That is through evaporation. So these are the three different techniques that we studied today, right? One is evaporation, second one is centrifugation, and third one that we studied just now is, it is separating funnel technique, right? Now the fourth technique that we have is, like, the question is how can we separate a mixture of salt and camphor? Now just imagine that I have like I have powdered all the camphor with me and I've mixed it with salt. Now I want to separate the camphor and salt both from each other. What do you think? How can I do that? So we have already studied in chapter 1, that is matter in our surrounding, that camphor changes directly from solid to gaseous state on heating, right? So whenever you burn camphor, what happens? It quickly changes like solid, it doesn't come in liquid state, it directly changes to gaseous state on heating, right? So to separate such mixtures that contain a sublimable volatile component from a non-sublimable impurity, okay, that is we are separating over here salt and camphor, right? So to separate this, sublimation process is used over here. Which process has been used? Sublimation process is used, and some examples of solids which are sublime, they are ammonium chloride, we have naphthalene, we have anthracene. These are some of the substances or examples which are sublime in nature, that is, they get converted from solid to gas directly. So using this technique called as sublimation, we can easily separate the mixture of salt and camphor. Getting my point, everyone? So see what exactly is done over here. We have the china dish. Inside that we are going to keep the mixture of camphor and salt. Okay, then we have to burn it, keeping a funnel on top, and that funnel should be plugged with a cotton plug on the top, if you can see, right? So you will see that the vapors of the camphor will get collected on the top, whereas salt will remain in the china dish itself. So this is how, using the process of sublimation, we can easily separate the mixture of salt and camphor. Got my point, everyone? I hope you all are drawing this as well. You have to show the separation of camphor and salt by sublimation by drawing this. How you have to place the inverted funnel, you have to add cotton plug in it, then you have to hit the mixture of camphor and salt, right? And what will happen? The camphor particles will get collected on the top, right? You need to draw the figure as well, figure 2.7 with proper labeling, and you need to write a note on like sublimation as well, which has been explained. Okay. Okay, now like the next part, that is separating the like the dye in black ink a single color. Like we have to discuss whether the dye in black ink is like a single color or it is made up of many different colors. So we will discuss this in the next class. Along with this, we will be discussing on like how can we separate a mixture of two miscible liquids. We will even discuss about it in the next class. Okay, after that, after discussing about like how can we separate this, we will be studying about like that can be done through distillation process, where we have like simple distillation, fractional distillation to discuss. Okay, after that we will be discussing on like how can we obtain different gases from air. This is important, like how can we actually do that. Okay, so after discussing this, we will be discussing on like how can we obtain pure copper sulfate from an impure sample. Now this is again very important. Like if there is an impure sample in front of you, how can you separate that copper sulfate from an impure sample? Because that is important, right? So we will just discuss on it. Then like that discussion is going to be through an activity. We'll discuss that. Then after that we will discuss on crystallization and the application of crystallization. Okay, after that we will discuss on the physical and chemical changes in detail. Okay, then we'll discuss on the types of pure substances, what exactly it is. Then after discussing this types of pure substances in detail, we will be discussing on elements, what elements are exactly. Okay, then after discussing elements in detail, we will study some of the properties of metals as well, and whatever properties of metals that we have. Okay, the property of non-metals are exactly going to be the opposite of it. Okay, then after discussing all that, we will be discussing on compounds in detail, what exactly compounds are. And after discussing compounds, like we will be discussing it through an activity. We will be discussing the differentiation between mixtures and compounds, which is again very important. And then we have the summary discussion for the whole lesson. Okay, so we'll do that as well. So these are the exercise questions which I want each one of you to please go through properly. I hope everyone is going through the question given. I hope everyone is going through the questions which have been given. So altogether, like, we have, I guess, 11 questions itself, right? So this is how we will be ending up with the whole lesson. Okay, and I hope whatever we studied today, you have understood it properly, and we will be like continuing whatever part has been left in the next part. Okay, so whatever we study it, make sure you all are revising it, because revision is going to help you a lot. And whatever topics that we are discussing, they are some or the other how going to relate further in your like 10th, 11th and 12th as well. So make sure you're not rectifying anything. I want each one of you to be clear with all the concepts that we are studying. Now, evaporation, sublimation, these are something which we have already studied before, right? So make sure that you're knowing it. Okay, and whenever I'm telling you to like revise, take a note, make your own notes while I'm teaching you, make sure you're doing that as well, because just before your exam, if you go through all of it, it will be very much beneficial for you, so you will be like thanking me that time. Okay, so now whatever part has been left for the lesson is matter around us pure. I'm going to continue that in the next part. Thank you everyone.